There were two men in it. One was driving.
Shoes and some buttons in the back.
Put your hands behind the back, man. For what?
Take me back to old Yazoo. Everything up here is new. I can't stand it, just must land it.
Solo van life is often painted and beautiful, quiet mornings in the wilderness, and a sense of freedom that traditional living can't quite offer. For YouTuber Casey Johnston, that lifestyle is her norm. She travels the country in her self-converted van alongside her cat. But one morning in southern Utah, that freedom collided with something far more unsettling. The day started normally. Casey had parked overnight in a small dirt pull-off near the edge of town. It wasn't a remote wilderness camp, but it also wasn't a crowded parking lot. Somewhere around 7 a.m., her morning peace was broken by something she couldn't ignore. At first, it didn't seem like much. The car crept past her van, moving at barely half the speed limit. She noticed it immediately. After all, when you live on the road, your instincts are honed to pick up on things that feel off.
So Olive and I woke up fairly early. I started working on my computer and recording some footage for the vlog. And I noticed at about 7 a.m., a black car went past us very slowly on the main road here. The speed limit is 40 miles an hour, and this car was going maybe 15 to 20 miles an hour, which struck me as odd, but they kept driving, so I really didn't think much of it. Until about 5 minutes later, the same car came back down the road and pulled off into the same lot as us and actually drove behind the van. And I was close enough to the car at this point that I could see there were two men in it. One was driving and one was in the passenger seat. And they actually went up a little road that was behind the lot that we were parked in. And they got to the end of the road, turned right back around, and then very slowly started coming back down the road towards the van. So this whole time I'm sat up here in the cab area very discreetly trying to watch what they're doing out this driver's side window. But once they got close enough back towards the van, I actually moved from up here into the back area because that is where I keep my safety items. And unfortunately, I don't have a window on the driver's side back there, so I lost my visual of them, but I could hear that they pulled their car up right along the driver's side of the van, and they actually honked their horn at us.
The car disappeared down the road, and she tried to brush it off as a fluke. But a few minutes later, the car came back. This time, it didn't just pass. It turned into the lot where Casey was parked, pulling in slowly and moving behind her van. She caught a glimpse of the vehicle. Two men inside, one driving, one in the passenger seat. They made a slow circle, then pulled up the road behind her van, paused, and turned around. A few moments later, they were back again, pulling up alongside the driver's side door of her van. At this point, Casey's alertness turned into full-fledged concern. She moved quietly into the back of the van, away from the front windows, where she wouldn't be easily seen. Unfortunately, from her position in the back, she no longer had a direct view of the men or their car.
One of them got out of the car and came up and started knocking on my driver's side window, which I also ignored. And just to clarify, this was not a police car, this was not a security car. These were just two dudes in a car. So a couple minutes after I ignored the knocking, they finally left. They went back out onto the road and I watched them slowly drive away. At this point, I knew I needed to leave the lot, but I wasn't sure where I was going to go because, again, this is a small town and it is surrounded by very desolate areas. So the last thing I wanted to do was immediately try to leave town, drive out into the middle of nowhere, and have them follow me.
There was no way this was a misunderstanding. This wasn't someone looking for directions. They had returned 3 times, and now they were actively trying to get her attention. To make things more unnerving, they had already seen her van earlier in the morning, meaning by now, they likely knew she was a solo traveler. Worse, a solo woman. She didn't respond. She didn't move. She just waited, heart pounding, hoping they would go away. Eventually, the men left, but the tension wasn't over. About 30 to 45 minutes later, the black car returned once again. This time, it didn't pull into the lot. It parked farther up the road, as if they were watching from a distance. That was all Casey needed to see. She made the smart call not to confront, not to panic, but to act. She drove to a nearby restaurant, ordered breakfast, and parked among other people. It gave her some breathing room, but the stress was still lingering. After eating, she made the decision to put serious distance between herself and that town. She drove 2 hours away, stopping briefly at Four Corners Monument, then continuing until she reached a more populated area with public parks, familiar stores, and other travelers. The rest of the day was filled with errands, safe, normal tasks like mailing packages and grocery shopping. But that fear from the morning followed her, a reminder that the open road can be unpredictable. When she finally found a safe place to park for the night, next to other vans in a well-lit area, she was visibly relieved. She even noted how comfortable truck stops and certain public lands can feel, especially after moments like that. The fear wasn't gone, but she was safe, and for that, she was grateful. Later, Casey addressed her viewers, sharing the full story in a calm but reflective tone. There was no overreaction, no dramatics, just the raw truth of what it feels like to be alone in a vehicle when something doesn't feel right. She mentioned how she tried to keep herself from panicking and how important it was not to drive away too soon, in case they decided to follow her. Every move she made was calculated for safety, and that likely made all the difference. In the end, nothing physically happened. There was no break-in, no confrontation, no one got hurt. But for many women traveling alone, that's the exact kind of story that haunts them, because it didn't need to escalate to be terrifying. The idea that someone was circling your van, knocking, and watching from afar, all while knowing you're vulnerable, is enough to shake even the most seasoned traveler. Casey's story is a powerful reminder that safety in van life isn't about luck. It's about awareness, preparation, and trusting your instincts. She did everything right, and because of that, what could have been a nightmare ended as a close call. Let's just hope it stays that way. What did you make of this footage? Let me know your thoughts.
Before moving forward, I'll really appreciate if you would take some time to subscribe to the channel and join this amazing community. About 95% of you guys aren't subscribed. It's free, plus I got a surprise for you all once we reach 50,000 subscribers. Now, back to the video.
On May 6th, 2019, YouTuber Connor Kelly uploaded a video that, at the time, was just meant to be a fun exploration with his family. The location? An abandoned gold mine in the middle of the Nevada desert, known as the McCoy Mine. What started as a casual, if slightly risky adventure, quickly turned into one of the more disturbing encounters ever captured on a small YouTube channel. The group entered the mine with caution. Right from the start, they made it clear in on-screen text that they were trying to stay quiet to avoid triggering a cave-in. The narrow passageways and low ceilings didn't offer much comfort, but it wasn't until about a minute and a half into the video that things shifted from adventurous to unsettling. As Connor panned his flashlight across the rocky path ahead, something caught his eye, a strange reflective glint deep in the tunnel. At first, it was unclear what they were looking at. They moved in closer, and then it became terrifyingly obvious.
reflection? They're trying to.
Check it out. Go slow. See what it does.
Oh,
Oh, Jesus, what the fuck? It's a shoe.
oh.
Look, is that like a fossil? Dead animal or human?
Okay, wait, don't move, Wyatt. So that's bone over there? Yeah, that.
Check it out.
So this is more than a little disconcerting. It's just a pile of shoes and there's some bones in there.
There's like bones. There's bones.
Pile of shoes and bones down there.
Well, that's where the Yeti leaves his victims.
Thanks, Shane.
It was a shoe, and not just one. As their lights adjusted to the darkness, they realized they had stumbled upon a massive pile of shoes, all different types, sizes, and styles. Some of them modern, others decades old. But that wasn't all. Scattered among the shoes were bones, some broken, some oddly intact. One bone looked like it belonged to a large animal. Others were less identifiable. The group's mood immediately changed. You could hear the shift in their voices as they tried to figure out what they were seeing. Jokes turned into confusion. Confusion turned into unease. As they ventured further into the mine, they found something even more disturbing. A relatively intact spine, partially buried beneath debris. The further they walked, the wetter the ground became, and clear water flow marks suggested that this mine had seen serious flooding. The group grew increasingly unsettled and eventually decided to get out of there as quickly as possible. And that's where the original video ends. No wrap-up, no analysis, no follow-up, just a hard cut, leaving viewers with more questions than answers. Connor never posted an update, and even though he uploaded a few more videos afterward, none of them referenced the mine or the bizarre things they found. Eventually, he disappeared entirely from the internet. The original video stayed up for a while, attracting thousands of views, comments, and speculation. But then it was quietly made unlisted, still viewable via direct link, but no longer public. In this unsettling solo camping video, Indonesian YouTuber Gesit Official sets out to document his night in a location with a terrifying history. Known for exploring haunted and spiritually charged locations, he often ventures into places most people would avoid. In this video, he chooses to camp at a site reportedly haunted by the spirit of a woman whose tragic end has made the area notorious among locals. The result is a series of events that leave no doubt something or someone was trying to make its presence known. The video begins innocently enough. Gesit prepares some food and drinks, trying to keep things lighthearted. He chats casually with the camera, makes some hot chocolate, and shares stories to pass the time. However, even early on, he remarks that the atmosphere feels heavy. Despite his efforts to stay relaxed, it's clear he's on edge, and it only gets worse as the night progresses. As the sun sets and the surroundings darken, Gesit begins hearing strange sounds and the unnerving sensation of something or someone moving nearby. But perhaps the most chilling part is the backstory he shares.
Jadi pada tahun 2018 atau 2019 teman-teman, di lokasi sini pernah ditemukan sosok mayat perempuan teman-teman. Jadi kata temanku itu si perempuan itu selalu dibuang di lokasi sini teman-teman. Ya sontak sempat menggemparkan warga setempat sih. Dan yang lebih tragisnya itu teman-teman, si mayatnya itu ditemukan sudah berapa ya, 4 hari 7 harian gitu teman-teman, dan udah menimbulkan bau-bau busuk dan ditemukan oleh warga yang sedang mencari kayu bakar di lokasi sini teman-teman. Dan curiga tahu, soalnya tuh baunya tuh menyengat banget, dan setelah dicari ke sana ke sini ternyata itu sesosok mayat perempuan teman-teman, dengan kondisi badan yang tidak mengenakan baju. Ngeri banget. Jadi teman-teman, lokasi sini setelah kejadian itu teman-teman, banyak keanehan-keanehan yang terjadi di lokasi sini. Jadi itu warga kalau mencari kayu, padahal sore ya teman-teman, sering mendengarkan suara-suara rintihan orang menangis gitu. Tapi ada juga kejadian teman-teman, ada yang mencari tokek gitu kalau malam gitu mencari tokek, dan di sini pernah dijumpai oleh sesosok wanita yang rambutnya panjang, berpakaian baju putih lusuh, dan mukanya itu hancur teman-teman. Ngeri banget, aku benar-benar merinding ini. Teman-teman bisa lihat sendiri tuh, merinding dari tadi aku ngomong tuh merinding tuh. Semoga saja nanti tidak. Halo, assalamualaikum. Halo. Jangan-jangan bener ya teman-teman. Tapi ini aku nggak berhenti merinding teman-teman. Aku merinding terus dari tadi pas cerita ini.
According to local reports, the area he's camping in was once the scene of a horrifying discovery. In either 2018 or 2019, the body of a woman was found dumped in this very spot, severely decomposed and hidden beneath the forest floor. She had been missing for days. Her body was discovered only because a local villager caught the strong stench while gathering firewood. The discovery sent shockwaves through the community, and ever since, strange occurrences have been tied to the location. Many claim to have seen the spirit of the woman wandering the area, often described as wearing a white dress with long matted hair and a disfigured face. He sets up a camera outside his tent to monitor the area. Inside, he attempts to sleep, though he's clearly restless. Then, sometime around 11:30 p.m., he's startled awake by the sound of a loud bang, followed by what sounds like crying.
Dan sekarang itu sudah jam 12:30 teman-teman. Tadi itu aku kebangun, saya mendengar suara kayak ledakan gitu teman-teman. Wah, geduar gitu. Tapi sayang banget ini tadi kamera mati ya, asem tenan. Dan setelah suara ledakan itu banyak banget suara tangisan-tangisan gitu teman-teman. Kaget, aku langsung bangun. Tapi ya semoga saja ada yang terekam sama kamera ya teman-teman. Soalnya aku nggak berani ngeceknya nanti di rumah saja.
Frightened, he checks his gear and notes that, unfortunately, his camera battery died just before the noise occurred. Still shaken, he steps out and begins to explore the area with a flashlight. That's when he sees it, a white figure behind him.
Duh, itu apa ya? Bukan pohon loh teman-teman ya. Bukan loh. Ih. Allahu Akbar. Astagfirullahaladzim. Allahu Akbar. Ih. Gerak. Bukan itu. Allahu Akbar. Astagfirullahaladzim. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Halo boyo. Astagfirullahaladzim. Gak ada. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Astagfirullahaladzim. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Halo. Siapa kamu? Duh, merinding semua lu. Asam. Siapa ini? Allahu Akbar. Ada yang megang kupingku teman-teman. Allahu Akbar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahu Akbar. Siapa kamu?
At first, he thinks it's just a tree or his imagination, but the figure moves, and it becomes clear it's not a trick of the light. He approaches cautiously, whispering prayers and calling out into the forest. The closer he gets, the more intense his camera begins to glitch and blur, a recurring sign in his videos when unexplained things begin to happen. As he continues exploring, the temperature drops, his body trembles, and the noises become louder. Suddenly, he yells out that something touched his ear, a cold, invisible hand brushing against him in the dark. It's clear from his tone and pacing that he's not acting. The fear is real. He He begins reciting prayers loudly, hoping to drive the entity away. Guess it repeatedly begs whatever is there not to play physical, fearing that things might escalate beyond the spiritual and into actual harm. Eventually, overwhelmed and unable to continue, he calls out to the spirit, asking it to let him leave in peace. The video ends with him backing away from the haunted woods, still visibly shaken, thanking viewers for watching and hoping he'll make it through the night without further contact. What makes this video so compelling isn't just the lore behind the location, it's the combination of historical tragedy, spiritual belief, and real-time emotional breakdown captured on film. Guess it doesn't scream or run away theatrically. Instead, his fear builds slowly and authentically, piece by piece, until he can no longer pretend he's just imagining it. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, one thing's for sure. This was no ordinary camping trip. Something was out there in the woods, and it wanted to be seen. Like always, let me know your thoughts on this footage. In early 2024, body cam footage from the Lakeland Police Department in Florida was uploaded to the YouTube channel Florida State Body Cam. The video, titled simply as a routine check for possession and paraphernalia, ended up documenting an unsettling glimpse into a hidden encampment in the woods. The footage opens with officers arriving at a makeshift forest encampment. They're responding to complaints from nearby residents who've noticed unfamiliar people coming and going and strange activity in the area.
You suddenly shift around when I don't see you.
I heard Lakeland Police. I was on my knees. I scooted around, sir.
What's your name?
Chris. Yes, sir.
Step out here for me.
Yes, sir. I'm just trying to get my damn f***ing growing turtle.
Your face away from me.
Yes, sir.
I'm just gonna pat you down.
What's up, Bubba? Shit. Damn.
Have a seat. You want to go over with him? Sit down.
Can I get a cigarette? He knows me.
Sit down.
Yes, sir. Man, you know me. Can I sit on the bench or something?
Sit down.
All right. Well, there's the fire, bud. I'm trying to go nowhere, man. Come on, man. You don't know me. Shit, man.
Come over here and have a seat next to him.
Why was y'all called out here? What do we do?
We're not looking for you.
Huh?
We're not looking for you.
I know.
We're just out here checking the camp.
Yes, sir. We try to keep
You start reaching around when I look at you through the window.
I reached around, sir.
I don't know what you're reaching for.
I understand. I'm not mad at you. I understand, man. I mean, you whipped that damn curtain open, and I was like, oh, fuck.
I got you, man.
The camp itself is cobbled together from tarps, blankets, and old furniture, a temporary refuge tucked away from view. As the conversation unfolds, it becomes clear the man is known to law enforcement. He pleads for leniency, claiming he's about to start a new job and is working to get his life back on track. He insists he's been honest with them in the past and asks them not to take him to jail. At first, the officers seem receptive, giving him a chance to explain himself, but the mood quickly shifts when one of them notices a bag of syringes tucked beside him.
It's a BB gun, man. There ain't nothing in there, bud.
Where's the BB gun at?
In that drawer.
This in the drawer?
Top drawer. It's a CO2 BB gun that I got given to me out there because he's a raccoon.
I got you, bro. Yeah. I got you. Put your hands behind your back, man.
For what?
We'll talk about it.
What? What am I?
That big old bag of needles and...
That big old bag of needles is from out here, man. He'll tell you how to
Right,
don't
dude.
do that, bro.
All right, we'll talk about it.
I'll be honest with you.
Would you mind Mirandizing them?
I don't know what you do, bro. I see your elbows on those. Are you serious? Hey, just listen to us. We're talking about Come on, y'all. Are you serious, bro?
Look, right where you stuffing.
Yes, right. Silence. Anything you say, humans against you with no law. We'll be right to talk to a lawyer and have a lawyer present with you. You can also hire a lawyer. 20 questions you wish. You can decide at any time to exercise your rights and ask any questions with me. Understand? Yeah, man. You want to talk about whatever the needles? Yeah, look. I know they are. They ain't mine, man. I mean, you can look all over me yourself. I don't know those needles, you know?
The man tries to claim the syringes aren't his, but the officer reminds him that moments earlier, he had made a quick movement, reaching toward that same area when the police arrived. He continues to protest, saying he was just cleaning up the camp and had picked up the needles from the surrounding area to dispose of them. He even tries to shift the blame to his partner, who is also present and being questioned nearby. What follows is a tense exchange. The officers remain calm but firm. They begin to search the area more thoroughly and quickly find more paraphernalia: needle caps, empty bags, and a BB gun that looks uncannily real. The man says he keeps the BB gun for raccoons and insists it's not a real firearm. The officer doesn't disagree, but emphasizes how dangerous it could have been had the situation escalated. In dim light, even a BB gun can look like a deadly weapon. As the search continues, more bags containing drug residue are discovered, some fresh, some clearly used. The woman at the camp, named Amanda, is asked about several of the items. She tries to deny ownership, claiming they belong to the man, while he tries to put the blame on her. It's clear that both individuals are familiar with addiction, and both are caught in a situation that's spiraling beyond their control. Throughout the video, there's an ongoing theme of denial, desperation, and survival. The man repeatedly begs the officers not to arrest him, citing upcoming responsibilities, including seeing his children. He tries to demonstrate cooperation, even pointing out where other items might be found. But with each new discovery, another used needle, a hidden baggie, a suspicious container, the reality becomes harder to deny. The officers discuss whether the charges are worth arresting them for, especially given that the paraphernalia is technically constructive possession since it's scattered throughout the camp. Eventually, they decide that the amount of drug-related items and the evasiveness of the answers give them enough reason to proceed with arrests. What makes this encounter so disturbing isn't just the illegal items or the remote location. It's the sense of hopelessness that hangs over the entire scene. These aren't hardened criminals. They're people who've clearly been struggling. The forest, which might offer peace and solitude to some, has become a refuge of last resort for them. It's a place to escape judgment and reality, even if only temporarily. But even in this isolated corner of the woods, the consequences of their actions catch up with them. As the video ends, the officers prepare to transport the individuals. They maintain professionalism, treating the pair with restraint despite the dishonesty and tense back and forths. What's left behind in the camp is a silent reminder that danger and despair don't always manifest in loud, dramatic ways. Sometimes they exist quietly in forgotten places just beyond the tree line. When you're alone in the mountains, there's a certain peace that comes with the isolation, but also a vulnerability. On April 5th, 2019, the YouTube channel Appy Mountain Trekker uploaded what at first appeared to be a relaxing solo camping trip. His plan was simple: head into the mountains, spend the night working on his shelter, and enjoy some solitude. But the night ended up offering something much more unsettling. The video begins with all the usual ingredients of a peaceful bushcraft session. Appy Mountain Trekker sets up camp, prepares a meal, and spends some time carving a wooden spoon by firelight. He remarks on the abundance of food in his pack, jokes about not wanting to share it with any bears, and plans to stash leftovers away from his shelter before heading to sleep. By around 9 p.m., everything seems calm and under control. But around 10 p.m., that peace is shattered.
Alright guys, I just want to give you a quick update. It's about 10 after 10. I laid down about 9 o'clock and I was trying to go to sleep. It took me a while and I was almost asleep, and sometime before 10 I was woke up by something I've never heard in my life. And I know this might sound sensational or something that, I'm not bullshitting. I heard like 4 quick, very loud, deep guttural calls on this ridge behind me, behind camp. There's like a dip on the other side, and it goes up to a higher ridge on this backside, and it sounded like it come from over there. But it was like 4 calls, almost like a communication call of some kind. They were back to back. And then there was a pause, and then I heard two more. It scared the absolute shit out of me.
Lying in his shelter, just beginning to doze off, he's jolted awake by a series of loud guttural calls echoing from the ridge behind his camp. They're not the howls of coyotes or the rustle of deer. These sounds are deep, sharp, and unlike anything he's heard in the wild. He later describes them as a cross between the grunting of a wild pig, the growl of an ape, and the communication calls of velociraptors from Jurassic Park. The calls come in bursts, first 4 loud ones, then a pause, followed by 2 more. The noise sends him into high alert. This isn't just wildlife noise, this is something else. The location, the cadence, and the volume of the sound suggest something big. He grabs his weapon and stays close to his gear, opting not to leave the shelter but also unable to fall back asleep. Hours pass. Around 1 a.m., the situation escalates. He hears something, movement outside his shelter.
About 1 o'clock, I woke up again. I heard something circle my camp. Whatever it is, it's close. You hear that? Whatever it is, it sounded like there was 2 or 3 of them, and it started on the other side of my camp, went around my perimeter. I heard that.
At first, it's hard to tell how close it is, but as the minutes go by, it becomes clear that something, or multiple somethings, are circling the camp. Footsteps crunch leaves and snap twigs. The pattern of the sound shifts from one side of the camp to another, as if someone, or a group, is pacing just outside the ring of light. He listens intently and becomes convinced that there are at least 2 or 3 entities moving around out there. It's not just a curious animal wandering close. There's coordination. They circle, pause, then continue. He begins to feel surrounded. Despite his nerves, he stays calm. He doesn't run, doesn't shout. He just observes. His instincts tell him it's smarter to stay put and be ready than to flee blindly into the dark, especially on uneven mountain terrain. Armed and alert, he waits, hoping the night will pass without whatever is out there making direct contact. Eventually, the noises fade into the distance. He doesn't know when exactly it stopped or what caused it to end, but he stays on high alert for the rest of the night. There's no more sleep after that, just silence, tension, and the weight of what just happened. When the sun finally rises, he emerges from the shelter safely. There are no tracks captured on camera and nothing tangible left behind, only the memory of what he heard and how it made him feel. What makes this encounter so unnerving isn't flashy jump scares or obvious paranormal elements. It's the raw, authentic fear of an experienced outdoorsman facing something he can't explain. Appy Mountain Trekker isn't new to solo trips. He's someone who knows the woods, who's used to strange sounds and wildlife behavior. But this shook him, and it shows. He never claims it was Bigfoot or anything supernatural. In fact, he avoids jumping to conclusions entirely. But the way he describes the intensity, the weirdness of the vocalizations, and the feeling of being watched and surrounded leaves viewers with more questions than answers. Was it a group of animals? Something territorial? Or something stranger? We'll probably never know. What did you make of this encounter? Let me know your thoughts. In this final encounter, YouTuber Angel Diaz shares his first experience hiking alone at night, and what begins as a simple fitness challenge quickly turns into a genuinely unnerving encounter. The video captures a spontaneous late-night hike following a long day. Angel explains that he couldn't hit the gym due to donating white blood cells earlier, so instead, he decided to fulfill his fitness challenge, part of the 75 Hard program, by tackling a hike after dark. What he didn't anticipate was that this decision would have him alone in the dark, facing off with something that seemed more threatening than motivational. The first half of the hike sets the stage. Angel is nervous but determined, joking about being scared of a crackhead jumping out of the bushes and admitting that darkness is one of his biggest fears. Armed with only a plastic knife and a headlamp, he starts making his way up the trail, trying to push through the fear and keep moving forward. As the darkness deepens, his tension grows. Shadows stretch across the trail, his light barely cuts through the thick brush, and every rustle becomes a reason to pause. Then, about halfway through the video, the tone changes.
Bro, I had like your shit. Oh my god, what is that? What is that? Dude, I think I just saw something with a tail. Dude, that's a fox. Or a... It can't be a wolf. Dude, I'm supposed to go over there. Wait, what do I do? I literally just saw something big as fuck with a tail. It's either a dog or a... Oh my god. I don't know what to do. Dude, I'm kind of scared. I don't know what to do. Oh, bro, that thing was huge. It can't be a wolf.
Angel hears something. He spots a large animal ahead of him, something with a long tail that quickly disappears into the brush. Initially, he assumes it might be a fox, but the size doesn't match. The body was too large, the tail too thick. Realizing he might have just spotted a mountain lion, panic sets in. He pulls out his knife, not as a serious defense, but more as a form of mental reassurance. He talks himself through the fear, repeating mantras and trying to stay calm, but the anxiety is real. His breathing quickens, his speech gets shaky, and it's clear he's not exaggerating for the camera. To confirm his suspicion, Angel even asks his Apple Watch about wildlife in the area. It responds with a list that includes mountain lions, sending a fresh wave of dread through him. Still, he decides to push forward. He talks about not wanting to abandon the challenge, and how sometimes in life, you have to keep going, even when fear tells you to stop. That decision, though perhaps risky, is what leads to the next unsettling moment. As he continues along the trail, something else happens. He hears more movement, possibly behind him. He spins around but sees nothing. Then suddenly, a herd of small deer or reindeer cross his path, confirming that he's not alone in the woods. While this moment provides a bit of relief, since the animals aren't dangerous, it also validates that what he saw earlier wasn't imagined. There's wildlife out there, and that first sighting likely wasn't one of these smaller animals. Still unsettled, he presses on, eventually reaching the summit, and it's here that the tone shifts again. As Angel takes in the view, the city lights glowing beneath the stars, he talks about conquering fear and embracing discomfort. He acknowledges that he's still scared of the dark, and probably always will be, but that he's proud for pushing through it. The view was worth it. He faced a real threat, whatever that creature was, and didn't turn back. In the end, this encounter stands out not because of what was definitively seen, but because of how raw and honest it is. Angel's fear wasn't manufactured. The presence of a large animal, most likely a mountain lion, was real. And his response, grabbing a knife, pleading with himself to stay calm, running at one point but quickly realizing it was dangerous to run while armed, was authentic and relatable. This wasn't a horror short film. It was a man alone in the dark, with only a flashlight, confronting a primal fear that many of us carry. With this final encounter, I'll take your leave. You know what to do, but if you don't, let me remind you again to like and subscribe. Also, leave a comment about what you liked and didn't like about this video. We want to improve our video quality so you get the best videos possible. In about 3 seconds, there will be more disturbing videos on screen for you to watch. And with that, I'm out.